Welcome to the Stack of Stats podcast. I am your host, Pam Maldonado, joined by my favorite college football guy, Harry Gagnon of the Against All Odds podcast with Cousin Sal. And we're here to bring you our 7 against the spread contest picks for week 11 and week 10 of the NFL. Harry, my buddy, you know what? We went 2-5 last week, and we're now 33-30 overall, still up above 500. How are you feeling about the new week, though?
It happens from time to time. That was our first week we went 2-5. So look, we can turn this around. A lot of nice picks here. I think I have a better feel actually this week than I had the past couple of weeks about these games. I really like a couple of college games this week. So let's dive into it. Let's do it.
Just a reminder for what it is we are doing. Harry shares with me his top 3 picks. I share with him my top 3 picks, and together we are coming up with our 7th. So let's take a look at your best 3 plays. You are rolling with Michigan -1 at Penn State. I definitely don't dislike this at all. I think this game is going to come down to the red zone. But tell me why it is you like Michigan on the road to Penn State.
I know, tough game in Happy Valley, but look, Penn State struggled a little bit lately. I had them last week in one of our 7 selections. We got a little fortunate there. We got the pick 6 late in the game to cover with Penn State against Maryland, but they were tied with the Terps heading into the fourth quarter. So I think this is kind of a letdown here for Penn State. I just don't think they have the capabilities on offense. I'm not to keep up with Michigan and their running game. Sean Clifford, quarterback for Penn State, hasn't been the greatest of late. And I just think overall here, Michigan, there's too much on the line for Michigan, with their game against Ohio State at the end of the season. Still have national championship hopes, still can win the Big Ten. And I think it's going to come down to the running game here with Michigan. Hasim Haskins and Blake Corum, they've been fantastic. 1,600 yards combined, 21 touchdowns. These dudes are lethal. They really are. They're so fantastic. And to be honest, Michigan's only played one bad half all season. That was the second half against Michigan State. So I think overall here, just too much talent and too much on the line for Michigan to blow this one against Penn State.
I fully agree. And I mentioned this was coming down to the red zone, and Michigan takes the cake both defensively and offensively. On the defense, Michigan is 4th in opponent red zone scores. Penn State is 36. On offense, Michigan is 3rd in red zone scores, and Penn State is 62nd. And Michigan is 24th in touchdown scored. Penn State is 84th. I think this has line movement, and it is correct. I usually hate line movement. Michigan was a +1 underdog. They have since moved to -1. I wouldn't be surprised if this hits closer to 3 by game day, but I agree with it. I love it. I'm so happy that it made it to our card because 100% I'm on board. The second game that you like is Baylor +5.5 at home to Oklahoma. Another game that I definitely don't dislike because, hey, you know what? It is 8:56 p.m. and OU still sucks.
Look, Pam, absolutely. I think that this Oklahoma team all season has been like un-Oklahoma-like. Sneaking by, squeaking by, barely getting by their games. Switched quarterbacks, in the middle of the season. I just think they're an overrated team. And when we mentioned their games, barely snuck by. I think the Bears and quarterback Jerry Bohannon get it done here. I think I'd sprinkle a little on the money line too. I know they lost last week against TCU, but this is a perfect bounce back game for them. And look, to be honest, Oklahoma, like we just said, hasn't looked good. And that's been the easy part of the schedule. Their hard part of the schedule is coming up right now, Oklahoma.
Exactly.
They get Baylor here, then they get Iowa State, then they got Oak State in Bedlam. I think this is a situation where Baylor, bounces back here. You're getting a nice chunk of points, more than 4. I'm taking the Bears.
I fully agree. And I think people are starting to believe that Oklahoma is overrated. I've been saying it since preseason and every week since, but the Sooners, they seem to struggle on the road. Also defensively, they allowed K-State 320 passing yards. K-State is a run first team, and they allowed Kansas 412 total yards. Kansas is bottom 20 in all of college football for total offense. Just not a good team overall. They snuck by that win. And the Baylor Bears at home, they have defeated Texas, Iowa State, and BYU. So I think those are really good competitive teams on the offensive side of the ball. Those are 3 solid teams. I love Baylor +5.5 at home. Another pick that I fully agree with. Your third pick, I don't agree with, but I
Okay.
do want to hear your
All right.
reasoning. I can't wait to hear it out. You do like Tennessee plus 20.5 at home to the number one defense in the country, to Georgia. Tell me why you like this one.
Look, well, first off, in the Volunteers' 5 wins, they have scored 38 or more in all of them.
Right.
Georgia does have some off-field issues. Their starting linebackers, had some issues off the field. I guess a situation with a rape situation. He's not playing in this game. See how they feel about that. How the team turns, and if they can't rally around that situation. And a lot of times, Pam, late into the season, no matter whether it's Clemson, whether it's Alabama, these teams always have one game that is unexpectedly closer than it should be.
Right.
And Georgia hasn't had one yet. Now, granted, they haven't had one yet because you just mentioned their defense is just totally dominating. No doubt about it. But this is a new spot for Georgia, too. They're not normally the number one team in the country. They're not like they're always playing second fiddle to Alabama in the SEC. So this is a situation where come Saturday, I think this might be one of those games for Georgia. Vols just won in Lexington, put up 45 versus the number 18 ranked Kentucky team, and the quarterback, Hendon Hooker. Look at the stats: 21 touchdowns, 2 picks. He's got 4 more rushing touchdowns. The team is balanced, Tennessee. They've got 22 receiving touchdowns, 21 rushing touchdowns on the season. I say bring on the dogs. Rocky Top all the way, at least with the 20.5 points. I'm taking Tennessee.
I don't love this, but I agree. You make some really solid arguments. Let me give you one little counter argument. Kentucky, they did lose to Georgia. You were talking about Kentucky just now. Kentucky did lose to Georgia 30-13. One that was a backdoor cover, and with a worse run game than what Tennessee does have to offer. So in right now, it does seem like, oh, Tennessee take the better play. They have the better offense than what Kentucky can provide. They can cover this spread. The difference between Kentucky and Tennessee is that the difference between Kentucky and getting slower into my words. Jesus, Kentucky and Tennessee, those are 2 hard words. Kentucky, they do have a defense, and Tennessee is bottom 25 in total defense. I believe a scenario that I see playing out is that Georgia offense, they don't have to be potent, but this defense is so bad that Georgia wears them out and can win something like 54-14. I do believe that Tennessee will be able to put up points. Yes, I think they can put up 13-21. My problem is I believe that Georgia can just score more.
Aren't you just happy I didn't take Cincinnati this week?
I'm so glad you didn't take freak. Yes. I'm so glad. Like, finally, are people starting to believe what I have been saying all along, that overrated? This is not the same Cincinnati team. I've been saying it.
Okay.
But back to Tennessee.
Yeah.
I believe that they can put up points. Like I said, I just believe that Georgia can put up way more. I believe they can definitely score 40 plus on their own.
Well, I just think this is a situation at home. Quarterback for Tennessee has been fantastic this year. I think they can keep it close. And again, I think this might be a situation. Off-field issues. Georgia hasn't had a close game all season. This might be the spot.
Okay. If you absolutely love it, we can keep it. There is another one on your. You do. Okay. I'm not even going to talk you onto the other one. There is another game that you do have that at least I think is worth mentioning, because I also fully agree, but it's in the NFL and you do pretty good with the NFL. And it is the Browns plus 1.5 at the Patriots. I definitely love this pick. I believe wholeheartedly that this is going to be Myles Garrett versus rookie quarterback in Mac Jones. Garrett leads the NFL in sacks, and the Pats have faced just one top 10 quarterback pressure team, and that was against Carolina. But if you saw that game, we know that it was Sam Darnold who completely just like fumbled all over himself. He had multiple interceptions. So we didn't even get to see what this Panthers defense could do to Mac Jones. Myles Garrett, you're going to see a different quarterback here with Baker Mayfield. I think definitely he has more experience, and this is going to be Myles Garrett, Mac Jones. I know you love the Browns. I just wanted to throw it out there as a
people. Well, look, we could maybe throw that in as our 7th too if you want. Look, I like I said, I like the Browns too. I said, look, no Beckham last week, no problem for the Browns and Baker Mayfield. They were fantastic. Definitely played their best game of the season against the Bengals. And New England, much better team on the road, as you were just talking. At home, just 1-4 the Patriots, and the one win happened to be against the Jets. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is coming into his own. And it's got a couple of years now out of Michigan, and David Njoku, tight end, both guys on this team averaging 16 yards a catch. And I think Dearness Johnson has proven he can be a great fill-in because Chubb is out, which definitely hurts the Browns
Right.
Because of COVID. But still, he did a great job in the Thursday night game against the Broncos. I think this is where the Browns. I gave up the Browns on against all odds for to win the AFC, to win the AFC North. I'm not giving up on the Browns now either. So I think they get it done in a crucial game against the Pats.
I definitely think that the Browns make a great teaser leg. I think this is such a great option to have. We can definitely hold it for our 7th pick potentially. Let's talk about now my 3 best picks. My first one it's a big one. It's South Alabama plus 22.5 at Appalachian State. I know there is a quarterback issue potentially for South Alabama for the Jags, but this is not about the quarterback. This is purely App State against a South Alabama defense. The Jags are top 20 in total defense and in quarterback pressure. And Appalachian State, they're pretty balanced on offense. However, South Alabama against a top 20 run team in Louisiana lost by just 2 points, 20-18, holding the Raging Cajuns to under 300 yards of total offense. Against a top 20 passing attack in Arkansas State, held them to 5 yards per pass. Defensively, the Jags are top 30 in opponent red zone scores, top 20 in touchdowns allowed, top 10 in forcing turnovers. And we have seen App State versus a good pass rush, good passing defense in Marshall. They won 31-30. And now the Mountaineers, they have played 2 top 25 defenses. They lost big to Louisiana with 4 turnovers, and they beat Coastal Carolina by just 3 points with 2 turnovers. South Alabama's 4 losses, all 4 came by 10 points or less, 2 by exactly 2 points. I love South Alabama's defense against this App State offense. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I was going to mention that too. The 4 losses by 10 and less, very impressive. They've been in every game. I know it's a big chunk of points. They do have 5 wins on the season. They need 1 more to be bowl eligible.
Exactly.
I'm not saying they're going to get it here, but I can't argue with that chunk of points and the way they played all season. They've been in every game, like we just mentioned. So I can't argue with that. I'll take the Jags too.
Perfect. Then the next game that I like is a team that I faded last week, and I'm taking this week. It is Wake Forest at home -2 against NC State. I did have UNC last week as one of my best bets and ended up cashing. But the Wolfpack, I think they are in for a huge shock here. Demon Deacon's quarterback, Sam Hartman, he is one of the best quarterbacks in all of college football right now. I don't know why he's not being talked more for the Heisman, to be honest. He is wow. He is so freaking good. It is so impossible to stop him. He is 8th in passing yards, 9.4 yards per pass attempt, 15.4 yards per pass completion, 5th for passing scores with 27 on the season. And the huge difference between last week and this week, why I took North Carolina last week to beat Wake Forest, is because of that run game. You have a mobile quarterback in Sam Howell and a rushing offense, and they generated 330 yards on the ground, 317 between running back Ty Chandler and quarterback Sam Howell. Wake Forest is top 50 against the pass, but they are bottom 10 against the run, which is why North Carolina was able to have such success and hold Hartman as much as they could. But the Wolfpack, their quarterback in Devin Leary, he is not a mobile quarterback, and NC State is 94th in rushing yards. So Wake Forest against a one-dimensional passing offense, they've already beat Virginia 37-17. I think Wake Forest -2 is way too light of a number because of last week's loss. I love Wake Forest -2 at home. What do you think?
Yeah, I hope they bounce back from that. But what a game that was last week too. I mean,
it was so fun. So many points that never stopped.
No, never saw. I mean, I know, and a nice comeback by UNC to get the win. Sam Howell, nice comeback, like I just said. But also, I don't even consider him the best. He was a Heisman, one of the Heisman favorites to start the season. But he's not even the best Sam in the conference of the ACC anymore.
No.
You're right. Sam Hartman is the guy. 320 passing yards or more, 5 straight games.
Wow.
And Wake Forest every single game this year. Pam, every single game, 35 points or more, at least 35 in every single game. And a couple games this year, the defense has shown up for Wake Forest, the Demon Deacons as well. NC State can be a scrappy team, but still overall here, Wake Forest should bounce back after that tough loss last week.
Absolutely. And the third game that I like is Troy +7 at home as an underdog to Louisiana Raging Cajuns. Just talking about them, the Raging Cajuns, they're a run only team, and Troy is top 20 against the run. They are 11th in takeaways. So if you can't run against this defense, then you're going to force Louisiana quarterback Levi Lewis to pass the ball. He only has 4 interceptions on the season. But now he has to face 2 defensive linemen in Javon Solomon and Richard Jubinor, combined 17 and a half sacks on the season, the second best pass rush in all of college football, 14 forced interceptions to just 2 fumbles. What have I always said is that forcing interceptions is a skill, recovering fumbles is a little bit of luck. So I definitely can see some Troy takeaways in this game. Levi Lewis versus a South Alabama team. I was just talking about them having a great defense, similar pass rush, similar defensive team. And against South Alabama, Lewis had 0 passing touchdowns, 9 of 20 for 49 yards. It was his worst performance on the season, and Louisiana won that game 20-18. What do you think about Troy?
Yeah, 3-1 at home this year. The worst loss was by 13 points to actually Louisiana Monroe, which is a surprise. Well, that was just 1 week when Troy just didn't have anything going for them, because that was a bad loss. Worry about that a little bit, but like I said, very good at home. And what are we getting here? 6.5,
7.
6, 7, getting 7,
Full
getting 7.
7.
Okay, full 7. So let's roll. Let's roll with Troy. I like it.
Actually, let me double check that. It is 6.5. Does that change
Six
your
and a
mind?
half. I like 7, but Troy's fine. Troy's fine. I like
Oh,
the
because it
they've
is
been
a
tough
six
at
and a
home.
half and not a full 7, I'm fully okay to like go ahead and switch up some of the other
Well,
options.
let's see. You also liked Washington State a little bit too, right?
I do. Let me see what we are getting for that contest. For
I
that,
didn't. Yeah,
I would
when you
want
sent me
to.
that, I didn't mind that pick at all. I actually like that a little bit more than Troy.
Where is it? Washington. Why don't I see it up on the board? That's weird. They're playing against Oregon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there it is. No, it is. Oh, we are getting full 14.
Mm.
Yes, we are getting 14. And the reason why I like Washington State is Oregon, they haven't faced a passing team since Ohio State in week 2 versus Fresno in week 1. They won that game by 7 points. Now, the Bulldogs had 3 turnovers, 4, all of which led to 17 points for the Ducks, which is why the stats. So they were still able to hang with 3 turnovers
Mm.
there. The Cougars defense, they are more prepared to face a rushing offense. The biggest loss to a rush team they have had was losing by 11 to Utah, allowing 6.5 yards per carry. But the Utes top 30 against the pass is the huge difference in that game. Oregon is 96th against the pass. So that's going to be the key difference right there. They beat both Oregon State, who is 6th, and Arizona State, who is 25th in the run. Now, the Cougars, they are the 4th best in forcing turnovers, 17 forced fumbles to 9 interceptions. Forcing fumbles could definitely come in handy against a run heavy team. Maybe getting a little bit too much credit here because now they are ranked in the top 3 for the rankings for the college football playoff. You agree with this?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Washington State's won 4 of 5. One of the wins, they were in a 18-point underdog here in Phoenix to Arizona State, and they just whooped on them. They're up 21-0 at halftime and covered that game with ease. Won that game with ease. That was one of their wins. Like I said, won 4 of the last 5, and they're coming off a bye week too, so they can get everyone healthy, everyone right. And Oregon, 3 of their last 4 wins have been by 10 points or less. So getting 14 here looks very interesting. I like it.
Very, very cool. So I'm really glad we looked at that. Okay, so you want to swap out Troy for Washington? You want to do Washington State
Yeah.
for
And
Troy?
yeah, let's do that. And by the way, Washington State, very amazing considering the situation with their head coaching, the coaching situation, not vaccinated. So they quit and they just left the team. So it's a bunch of assistants playing, running the show here. They have not quit. They're in it in every game. They're really trying hard, and I like the points here. And like I said, Oregon, a lot of pressure too on them too, with them being number 3 team in the country in the poll for the national championship for the playoff. A lot of pressure on the Ducks.
A lot of pressure and maybe getting overvalued here because of that ranking. I love our card. Okay, we got it. We got our card. We have Michigan -1 at Penn State. We're taking Baylor +5.5 at home to Oklahoma. We are doing, you love Tennessee, so we're going to stick to it. Tennessee plus 20.5 at home to Georgia. For our my three picks, South Alabama plus 22.5 at App State. We are taking Wake Forest -2 at home to NC State. No longer doing Troy. Instead, we are doing Washington State plus 14 at Oregon. And our seventh pick will be pivoting to the NFL. We both like the Browns plus 1.5 at the Patriots. Those are our 7 against the spread contest picks. Harry, I love our card.
Very confident, Pam. Very confident this week.
You have to have confidence. Otherwise, what else are you doing?
We need, listen, do or die right now. We got to turn it. We got to go 6-1. We got to get, we go 6-1. That's 5. What do we be? It'd be 8, 9 games above 500 at that point. We're okay. We got to go 6-1 here, though.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Those are our 7 against the spread picks for both college football and the NFL. Do make sure to check out Harry's work on bestbetcorner.com and extrapoints.com and on the Against All Odds podcast with Cousin Sal. You can follow Harry on Twitter at AAOHarry. You can follow me on Twitter at Pamela M35. Harry, my man, thank you so much for joining me this week. I believe in our card and I can't wait to do it again next week.
Thanks, man. Awesome.
That does it for another college football NFL podcast for Stack of Stats.